Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is German. I'm here with Ronaldo. Unfortunately, Miranda could not be with us, but she has done some voiceovers over her part of the presentation, so we will listen to that last. Our topic for lecture today is on courage and moral leadership. Ronaldo, you could go to slide 1, please. All right. In today's world, it's the pursuit of the bottom line. We all know people are concerned about the figures, the numbers. Even in my organization, I work in a state agency, and it's always how much is the collections for the month, right? Many leaders act unscrupulously to maintain image, status, and power. The pressure to succeed is sometimes overwhelming, but doing the right thing for the greater good would always augur well in the long term. So, what is courage and moral leadership? It is the embodiment of having integrity and having in your mind and in terms of your values that you will do the right thing, even if it means losing your career or having some kind of repercussions against yourself or your reputation. Courage and moral leadership is really concerned. At the center of courage and moral leadership is doing the right thing. Leaders who are courageous and moral are usually ethical, and they do not only what is best for themselves, but what is best for everyone. So say we have a leader in a company, sometimes it might be tempting to, do something unethical. However, the courageous and moral leader stands by their values. It is the fortitude to stand up in the face of adverse consequences, and courageous and moral leaders place high value on principles and morals and proper conduct. I have a little video here. It's Lieutenant General David Morrison, and he is the Chief of Army in Australia. We can hear what he says about the topic. Ronaldo, you could play the video, please.
World needs ethical leaders with hearts and souls more than ever. And recognising that the other is a human being is an important start. I think today's theme that has brought you all here calls for us to address
Pause the video there for a minute.
moral courage.
All right, somebody's microphone is feedback, causing a feedback, or your volume next to your microphone is too loud, Ronaldo. So the first thing we could do is probably ask. Well, Jermaine had her microphone muted, so it seems that it might be your volume level for the video on your PC or laptop is getting into your microphone. So that's what's causing it to echo. See if you could straighten that out. Just run it and check and see what's going on. Much better. All right, so you could go with that.
The world needs ethical leaders with hearts and souls more than ever. And recognising that the other is a human being is an important start. I think today's theme that has brought you all here calls for us to address the most rare of qualities, moral courage. And what do I mean by that? Well, I think first and foremost, it means listening to your conscience. While we all face dilemmas, what is the right course of action is often very clearly defined for every one of us. The hard part is acting according to our conscience when the path of ease or personal gratification or comfort beckons us down a slippery slope. Moral leadership is taking the hard choices. It's acting rightly when it involves a cost, when no one's looking, when there will be no applause, just the quiet assurance that you have done the right thing.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, can you think of persons that have exemplified courage and moral leadership? And I'm throwing out this to the class in terms of leaders. It could be leaders of government, leaders in an organization that everyone might know. Anybody has any thoughts on it? No one? Okay, well, I could go ahead and Ronaldo. I have come up with two. The late Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. To me, these persons, in terms of their work as leaders, has exemplified courage and moral leadership. Well, we know what happened to Martin Luther King. He was assassinated, and in the fight with apartheid, Nelson and the Honorable Nelson Mandela was in prison for quite some time. And this is what really is at the core of those who exemplify courage and moral leadership. They are not self-serving in any way. They are really thinking about the bigger picture. Next slide, please. What about persons who have not exemplified courage and moral leadership? Persons who have been unethical in the leadership roles that they hold. Can you think of anyone? Guys, are you all there? I'm not hearing anybody. Next slide. All right, does anyone know who this is?
Is that Hitler?
Hitler.
Right. Do you agree that he was an unethical leader? What about the other person that's coming up here? You all know who is this person? He was embroiled in a scandal, a FIFA scandal. Anybody, any football enthusiasts in the class? Is it Sepp Blatter?
Is he in that FIFA scandal with I was not gonna ask with Jack Warner?
Right, and well, the fourth slide was put there to make sure that people are, awake still. The fourth picture, you all know who is the person in the fourth picture? Because I'm feeling like if I'm speaking to myself.
I can't remember the character's
Some
name, but I know
Simpsons,
he's
but
from
I can't remember his
Simpsons.
name.
Mr. Burns.
Me too. I can't remember his name, but I know for sure that he does do evil.
Yeah, he was an evil leader, very, very evil boss. All right. Next slide, please. All right, so in the text that we have taken the lecture from, the leadership experience, is a great example of a courageous and moral leader. In the text, there's this four-star general that they spoke about named Eric Shinseki. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his surname correct, but he defied the superior's claim that it wouldn't take a few ground forces to keep the peace in post-war Iraq. His superior, Donald Rumsfeld, was trying to sell off the view that in post-war Iraq, it would only take a few soldiers to keep the peace. However, the general was not of that view. He was of the view that it will take a little more than a few, ground soldiers to keep the peace. And he indicated that on a public forum that more soldiers were necessary. And what usually happens to people who take a stand, his replacement was named before the end of his term, right? They were in uproar against it, and he was dismissed. And it is, however, noteworthy that the same person, his superior, Donald Rumsfeld, in the end, he was asked to step down when they realized that what Eric Shinseki was saying was true. He was asked to step down. So sometimes, as a courageous and moral leader, yes, we take a stand, but the right thing will always be the right thing. It always works out in the end. These on the screen right now are some of the characteristics of a moral leader. The moral leader sets the standard for ethical behavior by his or her action in their professional and personal life. I reiterated again, they are not only concerned with what is right for the organization, but also the employees or the team members. A moral leader is fair and respectful toward everyone in the organization. And there's a saying in Trinidad, we like to say, do as I say, not as I do, not so the moral leader. The moral leader will uphold the same standards that he wishes others to uphold. He encourages and rewards ethical conduct. So in terms of where there might be by a subordinate, it might be privy to something unethical. When you are in an environment with a moral leader, it becomes much easier to speak out against injustices, against the wrong thing. A moral leader welcomes and is open to discussion and is honest. The next slide, please. The leader of an organizational team affects the ethical climate of said organizational team. And the ethical climate is a set of shared perceptions of procedures and policies, both codified and informal, which shapes expectations for ethical behavior of an organizational company, Victor and Colin, 1987. I don't want to say where I'm working, but we have a culture. We have a culture. And in terms of the ethical climate, I know the powers that be try, but even though they try for transparency and fairness, because, all right, we are governed basically by the government, right? And at that level, there's also an ethical behavior. So it almost filters right into the company, the agency. It filters straight down into the agency, which is sad, because yes, somebody might want to say something if they see something, but a lot of people are really, really concerned about repercussions, even though they would like to open up and, talk about what is happening. The climate is not an ethical climate. So it sometimes seems of no use. In organization, it is the leader that sets the status quo and contributes to the attitude of those in an organization and its culture. It is the leader that shows his or her subordinates or team members what is important through his or her behavior. Anybody in the class want to talk about the climate at their jobs, if it's an ethical climate or if it's a hard place to get up to go to in the morning, and how you deal with that? All right. Next slide, please. All right, so this is a table, shows comparisons in certain aspects between the ethical leadership versus unethical leadership, right? In terms of decision making, the ethical leader will prioritize moral values and long-term consequences, not the ethical leader. The ethical leader is thinking about himself, what is beneficial to him. In terms of transparency, the ethical leader will always seek to be transparent in their actions and decisions, while the unethical leader will hide information or engage in deception. Like where I work, it's unionized, and sometimes even the union will be unethical in terms of, well, in our climate and in our organization, it's really on seniority, right? So you are promoted on seniority, and there are plenty times, and the union is aware because the union has to sign off on appointments. And there are plenty times because of who you are, how you are connected, that somebody who's junior will be appointed before somebody who's senior. I have been working where I'm working since 2002. I'm not considered a permanent employee, and I have not been appointed. Appointed meaning you have not been appointed as permanent. And there are people who are working less years than me and are appointed. So this is just one case of an unethical practice happening because they are not appointed on anything else except knowing the right people, which shouldn't be, because there's a structure in place for appointments, right? Accountability. The ethical leader takes responsibility for their actions, and the unethical leader blames others or avoids accountability. So the ethical leader is not going to take the rap for anything. Sometimes the ethical leader will even, because he is the person in charge of his subordinates, he will see himself as the person who is supposed to be accountable and will take the fall because he's the leader. He's the leader. Whereas the ethical leader will try to blame others. The unethical leader, sorry. Employee well-being. Ethical leaders prioritize the well-being of employees at all times. And an ethical leader, the human resource is not his concern. All he's concerned about is what is in his best interest, organizational culture. The ethical leader fosters a culture of trust and integrity. And well, we know the unethical leader is at the helm of a toxic and unethical work culture. Okay, the following clip shows where a leader prioritizes moral value and long-term consequences. You can go ahead and play the clip, please, Ronaldo.
Apologies, guys. That video is not working, but I know where to find it.
The CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods speaking out about gun control. Ed Stack tells CBS News the company has destroyed about $5 million worth of firearms in its inventory. This instead of returning them to the manufacturers. Stack says the decision was made to keep guns off the street. Dick's initially removed AR-15 semi-automatic rifles from its shelves after the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting back in 2012. Stack says he received a lot of backlash from customers pointing to the Second Amendment, but noted, "We just didn't want to sell the assault-style weapons that could inflict that kind of damage." After the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School last year, Dix announced that firearms would no longer be sold to anyone under 21. Stack says the company lost about $250 million. He also says many of his stores do not sell firearms at all anymore, with the hope of saving more lives.
Any thoughts on the clip? Anybody? Ronaldo, you too? Any thoughts on the clip?
I'm glad to see that, he took that role to do something as responsible as that, knowing that he would lose revenue.
Yeah.
And standing by it.
Yep. I so agree. Thank you, Laurel.
You're welcome.
But how does one become a moral leader? It is according to their moral development. So people act in certain ways according to where they're at in terms of their moral development. The diagram on the screen right now is as per Lawrence Kohlberg's moral stages and moralization, the cognitive development approach. And there are 3 stages. The first level, level 1, is the pre-conventional stage. At this stage, in terms of development, it's all about avoidance. This is an egocentric level. A leader with this level of personal development may be autocratic. All right? In terms of the next level, which is level 2 in green, the conventional stage. Here's where the leader is concerned about living up to expectations of what is deemed as good behavior. And these expectations are usually, or these tenets of good behavior are usually defined by peers, figures they esteem, and norms by society. But when I was reading up on this level, what I found concerning is that this level could be a bit of a slippery slope because according to the culture of the organization, the leader will swing to the norm of that organization. So say the organization is unethical, even though they have the possibility of being an ethical leader, they will move. Like if they came into an organization, they will move to the beat of the drum of the organization, so to speak. The last level, the post-conventional level, is guided by principles. This level is also called the principle level. And this level, as what was his name? The lieutenant in the first slide, Lieutenant General David Morrison. This is the level that speaks to the conscience of what is right and wrong. These leaders are not afraid to overstep laws to keep their principles, to keep their values, right? So some leaders, they are still at level 1, and other leaders, they have grown in terms of their values and they're at level 3. Next slide, please. And the next slide is about the 3 circles of moral courage. And this was coined by Rashid Kedar, president of the Institute of Global Ethics. And Kedar believes between the intersection of the following domains, moral courage exists. So you see in 3 circles here, one is principles, one is danger, and one is endurance. Principles is where the leader identifies aspects of values to be upheld and key values that fit into this situation. So they apply these values. Here's where they know that they have, the obligation to be honorable. The circle marked danger is about knowing that beliefs or convictions are worth the risk. So the leader here will assess the risk and, you know, try to do some management in terms of how the risk will turn out. And the third circle is about endurance. Endurance speaks to the courage to act, the willingness to endure hardship and the consequences of, you know, taking that actions. And where those three circles intersect, where the leader is of the view and of the mind that they have to uphold what they believe in, they know that there will be some repercussions of holding to the convictions, but they still have that courage to act. That is where moral courage lies. And next slide, please. And all of this takes us into servant leadership. I'm not going to really delve too much on it because Ronaldo will speak more about it, but I saw this slide and I thought it was so profound that, you know, somebody watering others and it's blooming. And servant leadership is a leadership style and philosophy that prioritizes the growth and well-being of others. And this is really what, you know, this is what we want in our leaders of government, in our leaders in the organization. It would be nice if we had more servant leaders. Next slide, please. And to sum up, I had a comparison of traditional leaders and servant leaders. Well, it's basically there on the screen. The servant leaders always look at an opportunity to serve others, whereas the traditional leaders looking at rank, looking at obtaining. Servant leaders share power and control to drive management. In fact, a servant leader is actually trying to reproduce themselves. So they are empowering those below them to be better, encouraging improvement. The traditional leader measured success through output. However, the servant leader measures success through growth and development. A servant leader is usually a listener. Unlike the traditional leader who is always probably giving orders, a servant leader will listen to others' ideas, perspectives, and a servant leader will know that in terms of all talents are not found in you. There will be other people with good ideas, good suggestions, and they understand that it is not about them. Whereas some of the traditional leaders are egotistical. And thank you for listening. Do you all have any questions before I hand over to the next presenter? Anybody? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ronaldo. Sorry, this is a test. I don't know if Ronaldo, you want to copy it in the chat, please. This is a test that you can try on your own. It's the Machiavellianism test, and it helps you to understand where you are at in terms of your leadership. Thank you.
Hi guys. Okay, so I put the link that Jermaine was talking about in the chat if you guys want to check that out after. So I'm going to take you through 4 stages of leadership, or 4 styles of leadership: the authoritarian, participative, stewardship, and of course the servant leader. If you're like me, for some reason, I keep reading it as savant. Don't know why. I just think it sounds fancy, I guess. Okay. The authoritarian management style or the authoritarian leader. This is what we think. Oh, let me just make sure you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Just someone tell me.
Sounding a little patchy, but I'm hearing more or less.
Okay, no problem, because my mic isn't working, so I'm just using the laptop mic. Anyways, the authoritarian management style, this is what our traditional understanding of leadership is. That is, leaders are good at are good managers who are direct and who control their people. Followers are obedient subordinates who follow orders. And these people, they make the decisions, they announce them to everyone else. They hold the power, the purpose, and all the privileges reside within these people at the top of the organization. We're going to take a look at this video that's going to get more insights.
What is authoritarian leadership? Authoritarian leadership refers to any situation where a leader keeps hold of as much power and authority as possible. Also known as coercive or dictatorial leadership, authoritarian leaders tend to keep all the decision-making authority to themselves. Make decisions about
Ronaldo, you need to mute your microphone because we cannot echo again.
Okay, so let me, okay. I'm gonna have to keep coming in and out then.
Yeah, no
because
problem, I understand.
Because the shortcuts aren't working.
Yeah, I realize that.
What is authoritarian leadership? Authoritarian leadership refers to any situation where a leader keeps hold of as much power and authority as possible. Also known as coercive or dictatorial leadership, authoritarian leaders tend to keep all the decision-making authority to themselves and make the decisions about policies, procedures, tasks, structures, rewards, and punishments themselves. The intention behind most authoritarian leaders is to retain control, and they usually require unquestioning obedience and compliance. Anyone failing to comply or becoming disobedient are likely to be threatened or actually subjected to some form of punishment. Additionally, authoritarian leaders have been found to be significantly more likely to engage in a range of both overt and covert or hidden manipulative behaviors, tactics, and even intimidation to try to ensure compliance with their wishes. The consequences of authoritarian leadership. One of the consequences of authoritarian leadership has been shown to be increased stress levels with employees, particularly when they are working under a regime that is intolerant of mistakes, expects blind obedience and compliance, and drives performance through expectations that employees should be working harder and faster. Additionally, authoritarian leadership has been shown to lead to abuses of power, and a number of studies have shown that authoritarian leaders tend to be emotionally detached and are often unable to empathize with others. In effect, they are task rather than people-oriented. For free research briefings and more, go to oxford-review.com.
You guys are gonna have to bear with me with the coming out and going in because the shortcuts aren't working, and I guess the videos sound the audio is off when my mic is on. So before I'll go back into the full screen when I'm playing the video. For right now, I guess you guys can just look at the full what's there. So sorry, guys. Okay, so participative management. These leaders have increased employee participation through employee suggestion programs, participation groups, and quality circles. For these people, participation is expected. They expect you to participate and give suggestions. They want to foster creativity.
Participative leadership style. It is a managerial style that invites input from employees on all company decisions. And so you're going to bring people together, you're going to get ideas, understanding, perspectives, and then you're going to make a decision based upon that. So this is a leadership style that really kind of brings people together and takes all the information that you can possibly get and has people kind of buy into that decision as well. Why should we use it? The staff is given important information regarding company issues, and a majority vote determines the course of action the company will take. Since the staff is participating in the decision-making process, this elicits more, quote, buy-in in the overall decision process and mission. When should you use it? All right, so you should use it when a leader is striving for group commitment, responsibility, and solutions in decision-making processes. So if you think about, when you need people, need information, you need people committed and responsible, then you can bring people together and get those solutions and decision-making as a group instead of commanding, embarking on orders and saying you should do this. It's really kind of having people kind of give their own input and making decisions as a unit. So there's 4 types of participative leadership. And the 4 types are collective, consensus, autocratic, and democratic.
Stewardship. Stewardship leaders give followers the power to influence goals, systems, and structures, and become leaders themselves. Stewardship allows for relationships between leaders and followers in which each makes significant, self-responsible contributions to organizational success. In addition, it gives followers a chance to use their minds, bodies, and spirits on the job, therefore allowing them to be whole human beings. Let's look at the video that is going to go a little more into it. Again, bear with me having to go back and forth.
The definition of steward is somebody who is responsible for taking care of assets, may they be human capital assets, financial assets, intellectual capital assets. How do you protect it, preserve it, but equally grow it and enhance it?
Steward leadership is the genuine desire and persistence to create a collective better future, because it goes beyond just the shareholder.
Organizations are responsible not just to their shareholders, but to all stakeholders, including customers, employees, the environment, supply chain partners, and the broader community.
Commitment to diversity, commitment to sustainability, commitment to inclusiveness. How do you show me that this is not just something that is peripheral to your work, but it's part of your business DNA? The values that you espouse, strategies that you put in place which are aligned with steward leadership?
We can see which are the ones who genuinely are embedding these in their business strategies. It's not done something on a standalone, separately, but it's really intertwined into the fabric of the decision making on a day-to-day process.
What I find really powerful are people who can both be doers and at the same time stay able to reflect upon themselves. Because it means we're not plunging headlong into doing the next thing just because we know we need to do it, but we're thoughtful, we're reflective.
All of that comes through in integrity. Are they changing the industry or the ecosystem that they're in a positive way? That needs to be found in a good stewardship leader.
It's doing the right thing as defined by your values. You know, integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking. Well, stewardship is a refinement of that. It's doing the right thing while everyone's looking for the right reason.
And even if your goal is to become financially wealthy, you gotta do the right thing, because otherwise this market, this empowered market will shun your product or your service.
Don't worry, guys. I have one more video, so I wouldn't have to be jumping back and forth. Now we're on to the servant leader, or as I like to say, because it sounds nice, servant. The servant leader transcends self-interest to serve the needs of others, help others grow and develop, and provide opportunities for others to gain materially and emotionally.
Hi, this film talks about servant leadership, what it is and why it makes sense. Servant leadership is a tried and tested leadership approach that's about creating a shift from managing for results to designing environments that create results. Robert Greenleaf coined the phrase servant leadership in the 1970s. It's a form of leadership that replaces self-interest with service to others. Servant leadership is about influence rather than power and control, focusing on other strengths rather than weaknesses, listening rather than giving orders, and long-range benefits rather than short-term profits. Servant leaders demonstrate a range of 9 key attributes. The good news is that all of these can be developed. Listening, self-awareness, foresight, empathy, persuasion, stewardship, healing, conceptualization, and building a sense of community. Servant leadership is about transformation and future focus. And adopting its leadership principles complements agile ways of working really well. The nature of work in the workplace has changed drastically. Our leaders need to change too. In order to continue to maximize delivery and customer value, our leaders need to demonstrate an ability to adapt. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, the top 3 emergent leadership requirements are ability to motivate, ability to work well across cultures and geographical boundaries, and ability to facilitate change. An effective servant leader would demonstrate these by role modeling collaboration, accountability, and demonstrating innovation, emphasizing the importance of embracing and applying new knowledge at an individual and team level, and encouraging novel approaches and ideas. New demands are being made of leaders at all levels. The world's leading lean and agile thinkers together articulate 8 core competencies that they believe will differentiate leaders of the future. And these are innovation, strategic, excitement, tactical, communication, production, consensual, and delegation. So, in summary, servant leadership is an attractive, effective, and proven approach that should be the choice for those interested in transformation at an individual and organizational level.
Okay, so now that we have learned about the 4 types of leaders, let's play a little game. We have some characters here that I'm sure you guys know most of them. This is Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones, Harry James Potter, Dr. Derek Shepherd from Grey's Anatomy, and Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. I want you guys to tell me what you think their leadership style is. We'll start with Joffrey. Anybody want to tell me what they think Joffrey's style is? Guys, it's a game.
Could I ask a question again?
Huh?
Could you ask the question again?
What style of leadership do you think Joffrey Baratheon has?
Would he be considered an autocratic leader?
Yes, an authoritarian, yes. Why? I would say yes, he is an autocratic authoritarian because he is very much, I'm the king, my rules. And he's not flexible at all. Okay, what about Harry? What style do you guys think Harry Potter has?
I would say he's a servant leader as well.
He is, yes, because Harry is all about everyone else. He does everything to improve the lives of his friends. What about our doctor over here? I think that both Dr. Shepherd and Mr. Miyagi can be considered servant leaders, but Dr. Shepherd, I think he would be more of a participatory leader because of how they collaborate on guessing all their interns, like they let their interns use their brains and figure out what to do. And Mr. Miyagi, he teaches. He's a teacher. Okay, so now we're going to go on to courageous leadership. So we're going to talk about leadership courage. What is courage and how does courage apply to moral leadership? Courage is both a moral and practical matter for leaders. A lack of courage is what allows greed and self-interest to overcome concern for the common good. Courage comes from knowing yourself, knowing your values, and being confident in your abilities. It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in, and it takes courage to admit you were wrong and to not push the blame onto others and to ask for advice. Courage is accepting responsibility. With that being said, it's okay to feel fear. Everyone feels fear, but a leader has to push through that fear to make a difference. A difference in the organization, to make a difference in the community. Leadership courage means going against the grain, breaking traditions, reducing boundaries, and initiating change. Leaders are willing to take risk for a larger ethical purpose, and they encourage others to do so. I want to give you guys two of my favorite quotes on courage. Courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees the others. Aristotle. And courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. Winston Churchill. I'm gonna like come back out and come back in again because we're gonna go into Miranda's section. So for you guys to have better audio that she recorded, I'm going to mute myself again. So I'm gonna go into her section now.
Good evening all, my name is Miranda Duku and I will be taking you through the rest of the presentation for tonight. Acting like a moral leader. Acting like a moral leader demands individuals to undergo personal change, involving introspection, reflection, and adjustment of their beliefs, values, and behaviors. This process entails aligning one's action with ethical principles, fostering empathy, demonstrating integrity, and prioritizing the well-being of others over self-interest. Additionally, moral leaders cultivate self-awareness to recognize and address any biases or shortcomings, continuously striving to improve and uphold moral standards in their actions and decisions. Ultimately, embracing personal change is essential for moral leaders to inspire trust, promote ethical conduct, and contribute positively to their organizations and communities. Opposing unethical conduct requires courage. Opposing unethical conduct requires courage, meaning that standing up against behaviors or actions that are considered unethical demands bravery. It implies that confronting or challenging unethical behaviors, even when it is difficult or risky, necessitates inner strength and determination. This could involve speaking out against wrongdoing, taking action to address unethical practice, or refusing to participate in activities that go against one's moral principles. Finding personal courage. Firstly, dedicating oneself to meaningful causes provides a sense of purpose and motivation, fueling the courage needed to tackle obstacles and pursue objectives passionately. Additionally, forging strong connections with others cultivates a network of support and encouragement, offering reassurance during moments of doubt or fear. Furthermore, embracing failure as an inevitable aspect of growth fosters resilience and a willingness to take calculated risks, leading to valuable learning experience through these endeavors. Leaders develop the inner strength and determination necessary to confront challenges head on and ultimately achieve their aspirations. Believe in a higher purpose. Believing in a higher purpose entails dedicating oneself to areas of growth that contribute positively to the well-being of others, ultimately lending to personal fulfillment. This pursuit requires a deep-seated desire, unwavering belief in the cause, adherence to ethical principles, and a support system. While it's crucial to discover your purpose, it's also acceptable if it evolves over time. the essential aspect of striving for growth and happiness, ensuring a sense of fulfillment throughout the journey. Draw strength from others. Drawing strength from others means relying on the support, encouragement, and inspiration provided by the people in your life. This could include friends, family, mentors, or colleagues. When you face challenges or difficulties, leaning on others for guidance, reassurance, and motivation can help you preserve and stay resilient. It is about recognizing that you don't have to face obstacles alone and embracing the positive influence that others can have on your journey towards success and personal growth. Welcome failure. When we welcome failure, we acknowledge that setbacks and mistakes are inevitable in our journey towards success. Instead of fearing failure, we view it as a valuable learning experience that we can provide insights and opportunities for improvement. By embracing failure, we adopt a growth mindset that allows us to see changes as stepping stones to progress rather than barriers to our goals. This perspective encourages experimentation, resilience, and perseverance, enabling us to develop new skills, refine our approaches, and ultimately achieve greater success in the long run. Harness frustration and anger. Harnessing frustration and anger involves recognizing emotions as sources of energy and motivation to address challenges or injustice effectively. This was the end of my presentation, my part of the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed the entire presentation overall, and I now leave you with this video.
As the brightness of the sun comes up across a new day, reflect on anger as a powerful force of motivation and change. In society, anger tends to move bad rap, as in it's not labeled as a good emotion, but anger is the change emotion. It is to take responsibility for action and for change. So anger is a natural emotion that if we take away the judgment and understand that it can be used as a focus. For example, this morning, I was looking at my focus and it was a bit unclear. I hadn't put in time to really nail the business direction in a few areas. And so I'm feeling a little bit annoyed in using that as a force of responsibility and for change and to just use the action. Actually feeling good about that. Just a little buzz of annoyance is the motivation.
Thank you guys for your attention this evening. So we'll hand it back over to you.
All right, I'll pause the recording now.